just knew, like, when I came across wrestling, that there was something about it. You just know, and that's like a very powerful feeling, and I just like been following that ever since. One of my first matches I did, I was a manager. The guy I was managing, Chachi, was wrestling Goldust. After the match, we do a thing, we beat up on Goldust, and the Boogeyman comes out. The coolest things about wrestling is I've gotten to interact and wrestle with people I grew up watching. I got to wrestle a main event match at the White Eagle. There was that period I was wrestling Miracle Gen like a lot. I loved any opportunity I got to wrestle Miracle Gen. People like that are like at the top of their game. Their director needs a production assistant who's kind of doing a reality show thing, so I'm like, he kind of understands it. It was really cool having my own stable, and I actually watched the Major Pod like get born, and I'm like, and I kind of took a chance because I was like, I don't know, like, I'm not telling anyone I'm doing this.
Call it how I see it, straight talk, no disguise. So the slang dripping, got the truth in my eyes. Might like gavel, every word, lay it down. Coach C in the booth, turn the game all around. Yeah, it's Coach C, he the best for business. It's Coach C, he the best for business. Yeah, I'm sharp as attack when I call the play-by-play. Every dog got his day, and I make the crowd stay. It's every week we go live on a Wednesday. Dressing so sharp, that's the reason why your friends stay. The youngest in the game to do it, best for business. Coach C is the truth and everybody gonna witness. Love entertainment, you swear it's your destiny. Link with Coach C, we can talk about your legacy. It's Coach C, he the best for business. It's Coach C, he the best for business.
All right, everybody, hello and welcome to another edition of Best for Business. I'm pumped for this one. We talk about a guy that I met literally when I was like 12 years old, and now I'm 20 doing all this stuff. JGeorge, thank you for everything over these years, and thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. You keep me with 12 years old. It couldn't have been that long.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was XWA was the first time I seen you.
Wow, dude, that was a long time ago. Yeah.
I'm pumped for this one. So for pro wrestling, we talk about it. It was a long time ago, but for you, what was it about wrestling that made you want to get involved in?
As I always come to at it, like, whenever I look back at it, it always comes down to intuition and understanding that feeling. And I just knew, like, when I came across wrestling, that there was something about it, and I couldn't put my finger on it, right? But you just know, and that's like a very powerful feeling. And I just like been following that ever since. Yeah, since I was like, since I could remember. But I know for sure, like, the defining moment for me in my life, I was in 5th grade. We were doing yearbooks, and we were like, what do you want to be for when you grow up? And without second thought, is like, I want to be a professional wrestler.
Wow.
And I remember I was going to hand it in. My dad saw it, and he was like, oh, don't, he's like, don't put that down, you should put something else. And I was like, I couldn't think of anything else to put down. And he had me put something weird down, like, you want to be an economist. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. And I was about to hand it in, and I was like, this doesn't seem right. So, like, underneath it, I wrote pro wrestler, because I just been following that feeling ever since. Like, I just knew, right? And it's like, sometimes when you know, you know.
Before we talk pro wrestling, I'm curious for you. You told me about this, and I was always a mark for you. Before wrestling, you get involved there. I'm curious the process. How does film and everything come in play for you? Because your career for that is nuts.
Yeah, I think, like, for me, like, again, going back to the intuition thing, like, if I never got involved with wrestling, I think I would have still wanted to do something in the entertainment field. So it just kind of stemmed from that. And I had similar experiences, like, when I was in college, and my first time in college, I was kind of undecided of what my degree. And I remember watching this movie and kind of having this, like, again, intuitive feeling watching it, and then it was just like, oh yeah, there's something in this field I need to pursue.
And then what about the Newbridge Festival? 4-time winner?
That's right, the 4-time winner of the Newbridge Film Festival Award, which was a high honor. That was like
awesome.
Shortly after college. Newbridge is that's my it's like kind of like my hometown. That's where I stake my claim, and to be able to represent the wonderful city of Newbridge is it's an honor. And it was a lot of it was just stuff, when you get out of college, you work on different films and stuff. And there's this guy Maurice Kern who runs it's like the Shout Film Festival, and
Yep.
I got in through there, and it was just like some of it was just assistant stuff, assistant camera, things like that. And then one of them was a short film that I had done. Originally, I started it in college, and then it took a chance, submitted it, and it did well.
Wow. So when you graduate college, is the goal pro wrestling, or you're still focusing on film at the time?
So I tried pro wrestling when I was like 18,
Yep.
and at the time it was just there was just a lot of moving pieces. It was kind of tough juggling school and wrestling, and I didn't have a car, so it was like extra hard to get to training. You would have to take like 2 buses and everything, and the school that I had started at wasn't like the greatest. um you know and so then I was like, at the time, if I was like, I didn't think it was gonna happen. I just was like, I gave it a shot, and and then it just never left me. And I there was this period where I really started, like, my love for it was just like, for wrestling was just like big, greater than ever. And it was my going into my last year of school.
Mhm.
We were like, it was like the last week of my, I guess, my would be my junior year, and we were watching all our films from the end of the semester, and I remember I got a phone call in the middle of that from this job I had at the time, and they were like, "Oh, I got fired from it," and I was like, "Perfect! I'm gonna collect unemployment, and I'm gonna use my free time and use that money to I'm gonna go to wrestling school," and then
Wow.
that's kind of what happened. And then once I started wrestling and training, like, that's all I could think about. So I kind of, for better for worse, kind of put like film stuff in the background and just focused on wrestling. And I think I realized that if I hadn't done that, like if I had just trained straight on from when I was 18, I probably would have dropped out of college or something. I don't know.
Mhm.
So I think it was better that it was like I was finishing up school and then I got into wrestling, because otherwise, I don't know.
When we talk about those school experiences, when I look at you, creativity is one thing that sticks out for me. So I'm curious for you, where's the inspiration come for JGeorge, the persona in general?
I think it's just like an amalgam of just everything I've taken in over the years.
Nice.
Like, I and that's just hard to say, right? Like, I
Yeah.
just always, yeah, I don't know. Actually, I never been asked. That's a good question. It's just, yeah, I mean, everything I do, right? There's like things that I take from and inspired by,
Mhm.
but it's not just like one thing. I think it's just, I mean, just constantly growing up watching, and uh, like, I used to watch, one of the things I would watch a lot, two things I watched a lot growing up: Simpsons and Saturday Night Live. Like, they would play the reruns on Comedy Central,
Yeah.
and I think it was like years of taking that in just kind of like fueled me to to where I am now.
Wow. One thing I always wanted to know, what is the inspiration? Who's the inspiration for the gear you have? Because when we talk about standing out in pro wrestling, your style is like no other.
Thank you, man. The jumpsuit,
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, it was like, and a lot of people don't realize this. There was a tag team in TNA in the very early days. They were called the Flying Elvises. And I always like thought that was really cool gear for some reason. And they just wore like these sleeveless jumpsuits. And over the years, like throughout wrestling, I had different types of gear and everything.
Mhm.
But I remember, like, I felt the best, like, I felt like the most like myself when I was wearing, I had these belt early, like around 2017, I had these like bell bottoms I would wear.
Mhm.
And I remember, like, when I had those, I felt like I was really coming into my own. And then, later on, I was like, because I wouldn't have like a good top for it. And then I was just like, I always wanted to have like that, like, look, that sleeveless jumpsuit look. I don't know what it was. Part of it was like, it was like, as a personality, it was like, of wanting to be a showman. I think there's something of like, wanting to be like, I always thought the Elvis look was cool. So like, and it's like musically, I'm not like a big Elvis guy,
Mm,
but like the idea and the concept of him like always fascinated me. So like that was something I think that was like it was like a mixture of that. I think now we talk about it like I at the time Shinsuke Nakamura was getting really popular,
mm,
and I was like a fan of his work, and like I saw how he was like a big fan of like Michael Jackson and stuff like that, and incorporated that, and that kind of like let me let loose more into like because there were periods where it's like, well, I'm a pro wrestler, so then I'm gonna try to like look a certain way, and like I would try, I was wearing traditional wrestling tights. I had like the Bret Hart like look with the singlet and the
yeah.
long tights. And then at one point I had like the wrestling trunks and boots to try to like look like that. But then when I saw like Shinsuke like really getting popular and just being himself, it was just like, okay, I think there's more freedom. I don't think I need to like look like try to look like quote unquote a wrestler. I think you could be whatever you want to be.
Yeah. For a guy that's done so much in wrestling, for you personally, what would you consider Jay George's first big opportunity in wrestling?
Oh man. There's always been a lot of like different, and it's like you're always chasing the next big thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like wrestling is very much like what have you done for me lately? One thing I learned from Matt Cardona, he's always saying like what's next, and it's like okay, you did this, but who cares? It's like what's next.
Yeah.
It's hard to, like I've had some cool opportunities and stuff like, and then it's like how do you measure them? It's like I've had title matches at different places, but then it's like some of those places don't even exist, or like
Mm,
so it's like hard to say like as far as a big opportunity. It's just the things come and go. Like I got to there was this company called OWE, and they were based out of China, and I got booked there, and that was like a big thing at the time for me because
yeah.
it was like the first time where I was getting paid to like fly out and live somewhere else, and that was like cool, and I got to do that. But now it's like they don't even exist anymore. So now it's like, well, I don't know what that even means.
Yeah.
There's like I have almost like no footage from it. So then it's just like a thing that happened, but
What was
yeah,
like a day in the life in China?
it was. I will say like the one of the cool things about it was the way it was set up is like they had us in an apartment,
Hmm.
and it was like at one point there was like 6 or 7 of us in this like small like 3-bedroom apartment, and but it was like you wake up and then like you go to they had a dojo set up. You go to the dojo, they have breakfast, they had like a cafeteria thing.
Mm,
You do that, you do a morning workout, take a break, you have lunch, and then you do like a regular training session. And then after that, like you with the people you were with, you'd go out to places to eat, and then once you start getting like familiar, you like kind of knew where to go.
yeah.
um
How long were you there
well,
for?
I was there for like 2 months.
Wow,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, I was supposed to be there like kind of indefinitely, but they gave me like the wrong visa, and I almost got stuck in Hong Kong.
Hmm.
It was a crazy time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was there
um,
anything that you think stood out about like wrestling, whether it was the fans or just the wrestling in general in China compared to the US?
um yeah, I mean, it was like definitely culture shock. The people I was with, like their system was kind of interesting because it was like there was a group of about between 20 to 30 wrestlers that they had kind of like scouted out, and like none of them, I would say like out of those people maybe 5 of them were like actually wrestling fans, but most of them like had no idea, and they were just like, hey, this is an opportunity to become an idol, which like I guess what they the idol system over there is like a pop star, like a
Hmm.
famous person. And they were like a lot of times they were practicing kung fu and Shaolin arts and stuff like that. So a lot of and dance, they did a lot of dance. So a lot of times those guys were mostly practicing their like dance routine
Wow.
over like actually wrestling. It was like very interesting. And like the show would open up, they would have all of those guys come out at the beginning of the show and do this like dance number to a hip hop
Wow.
song. And then they would have matches, and it was just like very interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah.
When we talk opportunities for you, I'm curious, how does the opportunity come to wrestle Hurricane and Rosey?
It was just this, at the time I was at Warriors of Wrestling, and they
Yeah,
had one of the cool things about, like, especially like any good like wrestling school that has their own promotion, and they have their shows down, like, the best thing they do is they always have names like every month, right? Because you have your students and then have the names, then you have the students wrestle the name, and it helps everyone out.
yeah,
And I had a good run of, like, I usually would I got to wrestle a bunch of like name talent over the years, especially through there.
yeah,
Like one of my first matches I did, I was a manager, was um it was this main event match. The guy I was managing, Chachi, was wrestling Goldust.
yeah.
So I got to wrestle Goldust, and then after the match, we do a thing, we beat up on Goldust, and the boogeyman comes out. And it was just like immediately 1, 2, boom, boom. And like I have like a whole list of
Mm,
people, but Hurricane Rosey was one that was like a cool opportunity. And the match almost didn't happen. Um, Rosie at the time was like not feeling well, and I'll never forget this. He was like, they changed the match. Originally, it was a tag match. Then they made it a 6-man match to make it a little easier for him. And he was like almost not about to go out. And I remember I like seeing this, and I thought it was like really cool because he goes, someone out there that came to the show tonight paid to see me, and I don't want to let them know. Whatever I can do, I'll go out there and do it. And he strapped his boots up and he did it, and that was like it was a really cool moment. The fact that he was like, eh, bullying, like, how do I say it? Like, we already put our bodies on the line as it
mhm,
is, but like it was like an extra thing. Like, 'cause so many other people would have been like, whatever, I'm just not going to do it, and I'll do a promo instead or whatever.
mhm.
But he said, no, I'm going to go out and do this.
Wow.
Yeah,
What about Goldust? You mentioned that one originally. Get him managed, insane. It was that outside too as well.
yeah. That was an outdoor show. It was like one of these like kind of their like bot shows, and it was like a big show for them. So there was like 1,000 people there,
Wow.
and Goldust was like really cool. And this was like right before he came back to WWE, when they were doing that whole storyline with him and his brother against the Shield.
Mhm,
So it was like right before that, and but yeah, it was just like super easy and super like he was very giving and very like easy. It was just like especially for me, where it was like that was like my first time as a manager. I had to manage before, and it just it made me feel right at home, and being able to do that with them was like, oh, I could do this, And I remember we were doing the thing with the boogeyman, and he's got to give you the worms, right?
mhm.
That was going to be my big thing at the end of the match. I was going to get the worms. And I remember someone saying, like, oh, yeah, he doesn't use real worms anymore. Like, I think he just uses fake worms. And I remember being backstage, and I see him bring out the worms. And I was like looking at them. I was like, oh, they look like pretty realistic. Like, he's got a good thing with those. And then we go to do it, and he puts the worms in my mouth. And I look, and I'm like, I see them squirming. And I'm like, oh, no, these are real worms.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about Al Snow? Is there anything that stood out wrestling him?
Yeah. Al, Al Snow is a funny guy.
Yeah.
We did a seminar with Al Snow
Okay.
before the show, which was like a big his seminars are like, it's like a lot of trick questions, almost like it's like
Okay.
impossible. Like, he'll ask you a question, it's like almost impossible to get them right.
Yeah.
And we do his seminar, and my mind's like all over the place, and then I have to wrestle him, and then he's like, well, so what do you do? And I just like didn't know how to answer. The match ended up being fine, and I like look back at it. I think there was more I could have done, but I was so intimidated because of just having done a seminar.
Mhm.
But like, it was again a cool experience. It's been one of the coolest things about wrestling is I've gotten to interact and wrestle with people I grew up watching. So that was like at that time that was like a big feather in the cap.
Yeah. When you talk feather in the caps, there's a lot of companies and things you didn't wrestle in. The first one I ask you about, how does Evolve come for you?
Evolve was like kind of like a that was like a pre-show match for this.
But still to get to wrestle under the banner.
At the time too, I
Yeah.
remember like just being so like I didn't think it was like that I was nervous or anything. I was just like excited. I'm thinking this is like I'm doing the right things. I'm on the right track, and
Yeah.
like it was like a big deal, and that was like a big time for the indies. So getting to even just have that match under, I guess, their banner,
Mhm.
hey, I'll take it.
Nice. Talking about experience in pro wrestling, I recently saw you on the documentary, so I'm curious how your experience was in general. How did the Super 8 come to be?
Um, I don't Super 8, like I had been doing ECWA,
Okay.
and I forgot how even I got in. How did I can't even remember how I got into ECWA. I remember like I got in randomly, and I was like they were gonna book me out for all these dates, and then they changed owners, and then I was like on, and but then shortly after that, somehow I got back in with them, and I just the guy that runs it, Ryan, is a good dude,
Mhm.
very easy to work with, and I had a blast working for him, and I was just doing the dates, and I guess like he saw how hard I was working and everything, and he put me in there, which was like that was like a big honor.
Mhm.
I got out on the first round, wasn't proud of that, but I got to be a part of the Super 8 tournament.
How was the experience in general? Because when we talk about tournaments in wrestling, I think that was the tournament.
Yeah, dude, and it was very interesting, man.
Yeah.
Like I remember, Channing Thomas was in it,
Nice.
and the guy that started the tournament, it was like this like long running legendary figure, Jim Kettner, was there to bring in the tournament, and Channing like made him hold the ropes open for him, and I don't think Channing realized who that was, and I was just like, this is wild. Um, uh, like it was like I said, I wish I had more to say about it. I was out in the first round,
Yeah.
but like getting to be, I still have the shirt. Like I still have the shirt. It's one
Yeah.
of my proud possessions, and I got to take that picture with everyone. And like I said, that's definitely something that like you were talking about big opportunities. That was definitely a big one, and one I felt like again, it's one of those small things where it's like, okay, I'm on the right track. I'm doing the right
Nice.
things.
When we talk about destinations for JGeorge, how do you go to Creative Pro?
Creative Pro was after I did China,
Yep.
and then I thought I was going to be there kind of for a while, so I kind of just didn't have anything set to come back to the States. And I come back, and there's kind of nothing there for me. I was trying to get into CZW at the time. I had been doing their Dojo Wars that whole year prior, and
Yeah.
I'd been doing everything I could to get on the main show. I got to do like a match for them, but it just wasn't happening for whatever
Mhm.
reason, right? And I just fed up, and I was just like, all right, forget CZW, and then I'm just like thinking, and I'm just like, I had told a bunch of my friends that were looking for a new place to train. I was like, go to Creative Pro, and I knew a lot of the guys just from being on the indies,
Mhm.
been friends with them over the years, and I had a good relationship with a lot of them, and I was just like, you know what? Why don't I just go to Creative Pro, right? Like, let me take the step. And it was at that point I kind of had to like start over, and that was 2020, right before the pandemic. But I that was like kind of like that changed everything. That's where I discovered kind of who I really was. That was where I realized like, okay, I should be incorporating my film into my character, and didn't become a character, just became who I am.
Wow. You mentioned the pat for a year almost. You were going to all the CZW Dojo Wars. Is there a match that stands out from that time?
Yeah, a couple. My last match there was me and CW Anderson against DJ Hyde and like one of his students, this guy Will.
Yeah.
And it just like was so weird, random,
Yeah.
chaotic. I got so I had mentioned I got to wrestle a lot of names at Warriors. One of them was super crazy.
Mhm.
And because I had like kind of like I wrestled him and I kind of befriended him, I kind of helped him out of the jam because he lost a bunch of bookings through something that had happened, and he was stuck in New York for a little bit. So I was like, "Hey, I can get you booked at Dojo Wars," you know. And he was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I got to wrestle him there again. And
Nice.
so like I've got a few. I get to those two. I got to wrestle on a CZW show. It was such a random match. It was me versus Pat Buck versus Delmy XO.
Hmm.
So, it was just a weird match, but it was on CZW or something.
Yeah. I'm curious. You mentioned it. How does JGeorge handle the pandemic when it comes to wrestling?
Um, man, it was like kind of like, I think there's things that were kind of, a lot of people were doing these like trying to like supplement ways to keep getting content out, and
Hmm.
um, they were doing, different promotions were doing these like promo contests.
Hmm.
So I kind of like jumped in on those because that's like one of my strong suits, and I kind of got to really, as doing the film stuff, like experiment with that. And then shortly, not too long into the pandemic, there was a lot of closed practices and tapings and things like that. So kind of just like it was a kind of a good way to like kind of like reset.
Like, yeah. This past summer, I've said it. You've been killing it, especially at Wrestling Open. So I'm curious, how does the opportunity come for Wrestling Open? What's that first match you have?
The first match I wrestled this guy Showtime Encore Showtime
Okay.
Encore Show
Yeah.
Encore. That was
Yeah.
like his name, Encore. But yeah, it was. I think at the time, Wrestling Open, like when I first went in, it was all like it was still kind of not too storyline heavy, and it was still like the original concept, right?
Yeah, like what? Like open mic night? I was just watching the first ever Wrestling Open where Rich is like reading all the names that are wrestling like at the beginning.
Yeah, and it was very interesting. Like, yeah, it was like open mic night, so it was still kind of like you would sign up, and then I got the opportunity. I think that way. I think I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
How many like episodes are you in? Do you start like right at the beginning?
No, no, no. It was like I think it was like towards the end of that first year that I kind
Okay.
of started getting in. Yeah.
I remember one thing that stood out about JGeorge. Do you have anything that stood out? I remember Platinum Max was running for mayor and you were with them. Do you remember anything wrestling Miracle Gen, anything that stands out about
Oh
that?
man. Yeah. Again, you talk about opportunities. I was like, I look back at it, and it was like one of those things where it was like, when the White Eagle, when they first left the White Eagle,
Yeah.
I remember I was like, hey, I got to wrestle a main event match at the White Eagle. I think, and I didn't even realize this. I was looking at pictures
Hmm.
through my phone. I was like trying to clear stuff out, and I have a picture of me putting Richard Holiday in a headlock. And I was like, I completely forgot I wrestled Richard Holiday at Wrestling Open. It was like a tag
Wow.
match.
Yeah.
But Miracle Gen, and I think you're going to tie into this later, but there was that period I was wrestling Miracle Gen like a lot. It was between him and me and Max teaming up there. And like I said, we had that main event match for the IWTV tag titles, which was awesome. And then I was also wrestling them at Blitzkrieg. We went back and forth with the tag titles there.
Yeah.
And like I loved any opportunity I got to wrestle Miracle Gen because I think like to me, like when it's like who do you like people these days now that I want to be in the ring with, I want to be in the ring with people like Miracle Gen, people like that are like at the top of their game, that are like in this modern iteration of independent wrestling, like that they get the job done every time as far as going out there and having killer matches. Those are the people I want to be in the ring with. Like when I wrestle all those names that I mentioned prior, like it's cool and it's great,
Yeah, it's good
but
experience. Yeah.
it's good experience and everything. But it's like I want to also be able to have matches with guys like Miracle John, with guys like Marcus Mathers. Like I need to know that I could be able to hang with these guys. And Miracle John, from going to Wrestling Open, I was like, those were guys I really like respected their work ethic
Yeah.
and what they were able to do. And I think they've, as a tag team, they're like one of the best tag teams. So like I took a lot of I'm really grateful that I got to wrestle them as many times as I did.
Is there any other moments of Wrestling Open that stick out? Because especially this past summer, we talk the insane reaction you had at the last Wrestling Open Rhode Island. You and Jay Lyon killing on numerous matches this summer. But what matches and moments stand out for you?
Definitely that main event with Miracle Jen was
Yeah.
like, a big highlight. It was for the IWT tag titles, the main event at the White Eagle. That was great. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Like you said, the stuff with Jay Lyon again, another guy like I really like respected over the years, and it was we had to like push ourselves every week, you know. Yeah, I was trying to think. Now I'm gonna I'll probably remember after the
Yeah.
fact, but no, I've had some great between Wrestling Open and Beyond. There's some cool. I did a lot of good stuff with Love Doug, you know. I got to wrestle TJ Crawford, which again, when you talk about these guys in this modern iteration of independent wrestling that are at the top of the game, like getting to wrestle TJ, awesome. And it's like it was a spotlight match. It was like I'd love to, I want like to have more matches with guys like TJ, But I
Yeah.
got that. I had to wrestle TJ. I had a couple matches with this kid, Angelo Reyes, who's like him and I just like really clicked, and he was so much fun to work with. Yeah, I mean, those were definitely like I would say probably some of my top memories there.
Yeah, you mentioned one name. I'm curious. How does the idea come for you team with Angelo?
Oh, so this is a different Angelo that I
No, no, no.
mentioned.
I was talking about Angelo Carter. I know you're
That
talking about.
reminded you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Angelo, when he was just starting out and starting to do making the rounds of going out, when you start out of wrestling school, one of the first steps you do is you go out, you network like you've done, you go to
Yeah.
different shows, you help out, introduce yourself, and hope that leads to something, right? So Angelo came out to Wrestling Open, he came out to Blitzkrieg, and I always liked Angelo. Like when I saw him, his class at T2T, he was like one of the people there where I was like, he's gonna do a lot in wrestling. Like he
Nice.
gets it, he wants it. So I was like, I have a director. A director needs a production assistant, and he was kind of doing a reality show thing. So I'm like, he kind of understands it. It goes hand in hand. So I would have him do like my entrance with me, and I was like, hopefully maybe it'll lead to something. Maybe he gets something out of it. And I did it at Blitzkrieg, and for whatever reason, Jeremy's like took notice of that, and he really liked me and Angelo together, and he paired us up, and then we were off to the races.
Wow. I'm
Yeah.
curious, what's JGeorge's first interaction with Lady KillJoy?
Um. Yeah, we just same similar situation
Okay.
as Angelo. You meet at wrestling school, and then you come out to do shows, and people get ideas to like pair you up, and you kind of go from there.
Nice. When we talk JGeorge, having our own faction is pretty unique, and you don't see it that often in wrestling.
Yeah, that was like, and it was funny because we actually had team up prior, but it was a similar thing where like me and Angelo we break up at Blitzkrieg. That Angelo was starting to get popular with the fans. They
Yeah.
still hated me. I took issue with that, and we lost the tag titles to Miracle Jen. I took issue with that, and I knew like as a director, you always have a crew with you. Always have a film crew. So um, I had done this promo that I had a bunch of people with me, and again, Jeremy saw that. He saw something in there, and he liked Will and Tristan, and then it was just like, okay, like maybe we'll put this in there, and unfortunately, it's a thing of the past. But for the brief time that it existed, it was a fun ride. It was really cool having my own stable. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. Tristan and Will just both disappeared. Like they both literally like at different points, like just like Tristan just like fell off the face of the earth, and
Yeah.
Will same thing, and then he came back, and then he was like, "Oh, I don't want to wrestle anymore," which I respect. I don't not taking anything away from them. Like they both found different ways they wanted to go in their lives, and it is what it is. It was very unfortunate because we really had a good thing going, but
Yeah.
that's life, man. That just happens, unfortunately.
Is there any memories or moments that stick out with Lady KillJoy so far?
Yeah, I mean, we had uh, I mean, we got to do GCW together, and
Nice.
again, another. It's like even it's funny. Like now that I was like when you mentioned big opportunity, I was like, I don't know what big opportunities I had, but then I look back now as we're talking, it's like, oh, I've had a lot of big opportunities come my way, which I'm very grateful for. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we had a lot of cool stuff, and same thing with, like I said, it's with the Silver Screen Collective and all that. That kind of that fell wayside, and it's just me, Oos.
Yeah. What did it feel like for you to be in Retromania Wrestling? Because that's insane.
That was awesome, man.
Yeah.
Again, Jeremy Leary, he's been really good to me over the years. I've known him over 10 years. And it's funny because that's how it started, right? Like I went to the show just getting on the road with my trainer just to help out and just to show face. And I got to wrestle Jeremy at some weird promotion in East Massachusetts. And Jeremy shortly after started Blitzkrieg, and he remembered me and he put me on. And it's like a relationship that's like lasted a decade. And it's like, you know, it's been very like it just goes to show you never know, right? Like
Hmm.
it's you never know like what's going to happen or who you're going to meet and who the people you meet are going to become. Like you just never know, right? Like you show up to these shows, right? And who knows, 5 years from now, maybe you're running a promotion
Yeah.
and you're going to remember the people that you liked and the people that were good to you, right?
Oh, yeah.
And those are going to be the people that you want to book on your show. That's why you should always like when you go to these shows, like you never know who's going to become something and who's going to decide. Even fans, dude. Like I've seen it with fans. Like fans decide I'm going to run my own promotion. So like you never know,
Hmm.
and you never know. Nothing will ever happen if you don't leave the house and try, right? So like it's like you always got to consider that. Like sometimes it is always better to just go out and be there for something because you just never know.
Yeah. When I
And
look at JGeorge, I'm curious for your career so far. When this interview airs, I think the week before or so, I interviewed Max Smashmaster of Rad Pro Wrestling. He explained to me the process. A lot of the times, he'll text the person, whoever's personaing it, and tell him his idea, and then they have for a lot of creativity. For you, how does your idea come about, and what's your mindset about it in general?
for with Rad Pro,
Yeah.
you know, I knew I wanted to be a part of that, and
Yep.
I regret. This is my only regret I have of Rad Pro is I didn't pick like a different enough character.
Okay.
I just thought it would be easy to just say like, oh yeah, I'll just be a filmmaker, and then I just have a different name. But I got to do like the. I think he saw it as soon as I was coming in, like, oh, you're gonna do the. I had this idea to do a 1 year Iron Man match,
Yeah.
and he's like, I want you to do it, and then I was just like, awesome, and like he started telling me his like ideas for it, and I was like, yeah, this is great, and I kind of had free reign to like go different ways with it, um, and like film a lot of like extracurricular content for it. So like I got yeah, it was cool. Like once you tell me the concept where it's like it's a year-long Iron Man match, you guys are gonna wrestle for a year straight, and you know, and I was just like wanted to go all the way with it, and I wanted to go as far as like I wanted to wrestle like Dog one day, like at a training school or something for like an hour or something, and just like live stream it just
Hmm.
to. But like, yeah, it was cool. Like it was a it's something you really had to commit to, and I was more than happy to commit to it. And Max is a great dude. Like I love what he's doing with Rad Pro and like the opportunities like he gets his students and stuff. And like he's had a lot of great students like so far come out and shine through.
Hmm.
So like getting to be a small part of that is very fun.
Yeah. Talking about being a part of something big, I'm curious. I assume it's from Creative Pro, but when does JGeorge start getting involved originally with the major pod community and all them?
A fun story I like to tell. I actually watched the major pod like get born. Like I was doing extra work in Brooklyn,
Yep.
and this was 2018 SummerSlam 2018 We were there for 4 days. Matt and Brian are there. They're still under WWE. We're at catering. And I remember Brian pulls Mark Sterling to the side at catering, and they tell him the idea, like, they're like, we're doing a podcast and we want you to, we want you to produce it. And then Mark came back to me, and I was with CPA, and they were like, he's like, guys, they asked me to do their podcast. And I'm like, oh, cool. And then it just like happened. And then as the podcast is growing and they're doing more live events and they're doing a toy drive and everything, I knew I had to be a part of it because it was like, that was like, I felt this kinship with them because it was like, I love wrestling figures. Like I grew up collecting figures, and like even on my desk, I have a whole bunch of them scattered around, but I was like, I know I need to be a part of this. Like, and I remember reaching out to Mark and I was like, help me get a part of it. And he put me on a thing. They were doing a live show on their Patreon page, and he put me on with Matt and Brian. And I was like, I want to be a part of FWF. That was like their show that they were doing at the time. And I did that, and then I showed up, and I showed up to one of their live events, and I just filmed stuff and put a vlog together for them, and they got me in. They got me in the door, and now I'm a part of the Major Pod family.
Is there a moment so far or something for content that sticks out that you've got to be a part of?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, once they started doing FWF, which was like their own. So originally it was just like a figure fed they did during the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
But then they did it like as a live wrestling show, and like I got to do that, and then they would book me. They would have the open challenge, like, and it was nuts. I wrestled Nick Gage on one of them. I wrestled Taya Valkyrie on another one of them. So like that's been cool. Every year we do like a business trip to Disney. And so we've been 3 times. We've done Disney, Universal. We went back to Disney. And like when we do that, we get like a private tour. Like we have our own tour guide.
Kirk?
Kirk. Yeah. Dude, it's insane because it's like I can't say I grew up watching them, but like even like as I was younger, really into wrestling, and they were on TV, so like it was like yeah, like I collected their action figures, like, and then I got into wrestling, and now I get to like be a part of their little community that they have, and it's an awesome community.
How was wrestling Nick Gage?
It was great. I wish I could do it more and more.
Yeah.
It was very, again, it's another situation where I like look back at that match and it's like I could have done more, and I think I was just being a little reserved and trying to like, he didn't show up until like 20 minutes before the match, but it was awesome, man. He's great. Like, and he was giving, and I was like, I look back at it, I was like, I could have done more, but I was just trying to be like respectful and trying to like, play my part at the time.
Yeah. When you look at JGeorge's career throughout it, who would you say are some of your biggest mentors?
Oh man, that's a good question. I've my biggest mentors. Oh man. I mean, in a way, Cardona's kind of he's kind of been a mentor to me, and like he's even if just through osmosis and just through listening to him, for a little bit I had a bit of a thing with Conan, which was really cool. Like I got to spend a lot of time with him and just learn from him. Like he when AAA ran at Madison Square Garden at the theater, like I was like his right hand man.
Wow.
Nuts. It was nuts. I drove him around, but it was also like obviously learning the business from him. So I mean, they don't get any bigger than those two, I would say.
Yeah. When you look at JGeorge's career, is there any match that you would say like defines your career? If somebody was to ask JGeorge, is there one match that sticks out? What's the match you're pointing them to?
I don't know. I can't say that it's happened yet, but I've had a few where I think like for this, I had a match with Simon Gotch many years ago that on a technical level is like, was one of my favorites. And but that was so long ago, and it's just like I don't know if it defined me, but as far as like when I was like coming into the director and being that, I had a match with CPA. I had 2 matches with him. I had a live cinematic match. It was like tail end of the pandemic,
Mm.
and that was like kind of like that kind of like really birthed all of that of like, okay, yeah, now I'm getting into this character. We did that. Then we had a intellectual property on a pole match,
That's
and
right.
yeah, and then like shortly after that, I had a live cinematic match with Bobby Orlando where we had all my film weapons and stuff ringside. But I don't know. I don't think that match has happened for me just yet. I'm still
Yeah.
looking for it.
Was there a moment that made you become the cinematic genius? You talk about it trying to come to your own, going to Creative Pro that helped you. But was there like a one moment that changed it for you?
Yeah, for sure. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was at Creative Pro. We were doing tapings, and at the time, I was originally it was like gonna be because I when I came back, I've been told so many things throughout my career, and I always I would get this like really bad advice, and people would always say I was like too entertaining, you know, which is like so weird. We're in the entertainment
Yeah.
business, and I think people would sometimes, and it still happens to this day, where people like kind of maybe just because I'm like a funny guy, sometimes they think I was just like a comedy wrestler, which is
Mhm.
not necessarily the case, right? But like if I get put in those situations where I have to have a comedy match, whatever, like I'll do my best, right? You know, I
Mhm.
want it to be good. But like, yeah, that was like always like a hurdle I've had where it's like I think people like I don't know, just because I joke around and stuff a lot outside of the ring, I think people like have this perception that I'm like just a comedy wrestler. So I don't know. But at the time, I was trying to, especially when you go to creative pros, like they really harp on having some sort of character, right? I couldn't figure it out. I was told like to be like a serious wrestler and stuff before I went to creative pro, and I tried that, and it didn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
I cut my hair. I was wearing trunks and kick pads. I was trying to wrestle all serious, and it was like, who cares, you know?
Mhm.
And then I think me and Max Caster were talking a lot at the time, and we were like, I think he was like, maybe you're like, we kind of had this idea. It was like, maybe it's like I'm like an action movie star. Maybe we could do something like that. So I was like, okay. So we started like, it was like playing around with it, trying to start figuring out. And I had this thing where I would do like a one liner before my match. And then every time I would try to do it, the commentators were always talking. And I said, one day I'm gonna like flip out on them. Like, you ever see the clip of like Christian Bale flipping out on set?
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, I'm gonna do that. And I just started doing that. I just started flipping out. And I'm like, and I kind of took a chance because I was like, I don't know, like I'm not telling anyone I'm doing this.
Was this
And
at an open or
no,
no?
this was at
Creative Pro?
I would not be allowed to do that at open.
Yeah.
I'd be I was at it was a taping, like it was a closed taping. So it was like no
Okay.
fans, but like the
Okay.
wrestlers were like acting as the audience.
Yeah.
So then I start flipping out. I'm like, you guys are talking during my shot, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I might get in trouble for this. I don't know.
Yeah.
And Max was like, dude, that was awesome. Keep doing that. That was great. And I was like, huh, okay. And then I just started immediately after, because it was the tapings, immediately after we started filming promos. And then I just started like talking like now I'm like, okay, I kind of get this. Like I'm start talking like a director. Um, Something I realized too that I was inspired by that to incorporate into that was like 2003 when The Rock was like in the Hollywood character.
Hmm.
He would say stuff in his promos like in his WrestleMania promo. He goes like nobody because he wrestled Austin for the third time. Because nobody remembers the first act and nobody remembers the second act. They always remember the third act. And I was like, yeah, I just like start talking like that. And then it was just boom, that was it. And I knew right then and there, like, okay, this is who I am. I'm not an actor. I'm a director. You know.
Yeah. When you look at your career, what is next for Jay George?
Um, That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't
You've
know.
done so much wrestling in China, wrestled for all these different promotions, won championships. What's that thing that Jay George set out to do?
At this point, um, At this point, it's just to not give up. Like
Nice.
that's it. I don't know. I don't know exactly what it is right now, and maybe that's in fear of coming off as delusional, or I don't know. It's been a very interesting year. It's been a very interesting past couple months. Throughout my time in wrestling, I've gained a lot. I've lost a lot, and there's so many times where I want to. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't. And I don't ever. I don't ever want to. I don't ever want to give up. I don't. It puts too much time, too much effort. I put too much of my heart and too much of my body, and I never wanted to be satisfied with what I had. I always wanted more. I don't know why. And maybe there's been times where I should have been happy with what I had. I should have taken it and just try to make the most of it. And there are times where I spoke up, and times where I reacted emotionally to things. And sometimes it's like this cyclical thing, and it just keeps going around and around. And sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. But lately it feels like it's been for worse. And it's people say it's like you have to sometimes take a look in the mirror, and then the reality is like it gets tough to look in the mirror, and I just try to hold on to the fact that giving up is way easier than dying. And I know that deep down still have so much more to offer, and there's so much more left for me to do before I could even think about walking away. And I don't want to walk away, but I just have to. It's challenging, and I just know that I just need to. I have to whatever I can, whatever I can do to just keep moving forward. Obstacles always come. Life is a series of ups and downs, and it's a valley, and sometimes I'm deeper in the valley than I'd like to be. But it's up to me to get myself out of this hole, I guess. You know.
When
And I
we
hope that when this interview comes out, um, I hope I can maybe maybe I'll be in a better spot. I hope so. I like to think so.
when we talk wrestling for JGeorge, I said at the beginning of the interview, I've known you since I was like 12 and now I'm 20, and for you to still be killing it after all these years, matches to remember moments, I can't thank you enough for everything you've done in wrestling because you've had an impact on me.
No, man, that's great. That's what it's all about.
Yeah,
My time at Wrestling Open, the thing I took the most pride of was the stuff I did backstage, and doing that and helping people develop and find their voice.
yeah. Is there like
And
a promo or like I don't want to say a promo or a segment or something that you would take pride of from Wrestling Open? Because a lot of the stuff you said you did was behind the scenes for that. Is there anything that stands out?
I maybe out of respect for them, maybe I don't want to get too
Okay.
inside baseball, but I will say, like at the time I was doing a feud with CPA, and I think I put out one of the best promos I ever did was like the go home promo for that match. And
Nice.
unfortunately, I got hurt before the match could really happen. But like that promo I did, like I think I still have it up on my it's pinned on my Instagram maybe, but
Yeah.
I take so much pride. That was like one of my favorite promos I ever done, and just I always try to put out good content, man. After
Is
this is done. What?
I was gonna say, I remember like your live pro debut, the video you did with Chris Van Fleet. There's so much content that you've done. Is there one
Yeah,
that sticks out right off the rip?
yeah. That was I forget about that sometimes. That was like a fun one that I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like with the director thing. There's so many ways to go about it, and I've done a lot of cool like different like things like so like the promos I did on CPA, and then like I did like the thing that got me booked on GCW was this. I did a movie trailer to get booked for it.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't send like a message to anyone like, hey, I want to do Spring Break. I put out a movie trailer, and it was like me and John Claude Van Damme, and I was just like, hey, like I'm gonna take a shot in the dark, and I put it out there, and people noticed it, and the right people noticed it. So like there's other stuff like I've done like a bunch of movie trailer type promos, and
Yeah.
like those are always fun to do. And like I would say like those stick out. Even early on I did this thing where like I was talking trash to this guy I was wrestling, and he punched my camera guy, and I run up to my camera guy like I'm checking on him, and I'm just like, did you get the shot? Did you get the shot? Go. So it's like and that was like early on.
Yeah.
So I, that's my pride and joy is like doing the promos and stuff. So always keep a lookout because I'm always gonna try to push the envelope with that.
Nice. Well, JGeorge, I can't thank you enough for doing this, and I can't thank you enough for everything over these years. However, every interview of Best for Business has ended the same. The day you decide it's all done in wrestling, which isn't happening anytime soon, but the day you decide it's all done in wrestling, what do you want your legacy in pro wrestling to be?
Oh man, maybe I'll give the Mike Tyson answer where he's like, legacy, what's a legacy? We're all just gonna die and it's not gonna matter. But I don't know, I just hope that it's just like you were mentioning, maybe it's just people it's just that my uniqueness and my creativity that I left upon, But like I said, man, I know there's something more, there's something bigger that I need to do before I could even leave a legacy or to leave that legacy. And I got to figure out how to do it, but I think I'm gonna have to do it.
Absolutely. 2026 is going to be big for you. Thank you so much for doing this. And seriously, thank you for everything.
Absolutely, bro. Thank you.
Thank you, JGeorge, for doing this. And thank everybody for watching this episode. This was Best for Business.
Thank you for watching this episode of Best for Business. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, because this is Best for Business.